Iran just got hit, not by a missile, but by a signature. The Israeli Ministerial Committee on Procurement, led by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, just greenlit a move that resets the balance of power for a generation. Within hours of the announcement, the Pentagon signaled the green light for an emergency transfer of capabilities that the IRGC simply cannot match. Ladies and gentlemen, the decade-long shadow war between Jerusalem and Tehran just entered a terminal phase. What's unfolding right now is something the Ayatollah's military advisors didn't expect for another 5 years: the total erasure of Iranian air sovereignty. Let me break it all down. Hit subscribe right now if you want the unfiltered truth on Middle East power shifts. We cover what the mainstream media won't, every single day. Turn on notifications so you never miss when we expose the next deep state policy failure or military escalation. Do it now. Here's the sequence. On May 3, 2026, the Israeli government gave final approval for a massive multi-billion-dollar acquisition of American-made air power. We are talking about 25 Lockheed Martin F-35 Adir stealth fighters and 25 Boeing F-15IA heavy strike jets, with an option for 25 more. This wasn't just a routine upgrade. It was a $119 billion long-term military buildup disguised as a single procurement cycle. The Times of Israel confirmed the deal was fast-tracked under U.S. emergency authority to bypass standard delays. Now, Iran had already warned that any further expansion of Israeli long-arm capabilities would trigger a response from its Ring of Fire proxies. That warning? It just got cashed in. Even as you watch this, Israeli technicians are preparing infrastructure for the first arrivals, while the IRGC is scrambling to move its S-300 batteries. But here's where it gets bigger than just a few new planes. See, the Pentagon didn't just sign a sales receipt. There are emerging reports of 25 F-15IAs being equipped with deep penetrator munitions designed specifically for Fordow and Natanz, a $3 billion integration package for Israeli-made electronic warfare suites into the F-35 fleet, the deployment of new KC-46A Pegasus tankers to ensure these jets can reach Tehran without mid-air refueling from allies, the immediate modernization of 25 existing Israeli F-15Is with advanced APG-82 active electronically scanned array radars. Let that sink in. $8.6 billion in immediate hardware, 100% focused on one target. 2 full squadrons of the most advanced aerial predators on Earth, frozen in the sights of the Iranian regime. And the Pentagon just issued a regional stability memo demanding all regional actors acknowledge Israel's qualitative military edge is non-negotiable. This isn't a regional arms race anymore. This is a strategic decapitation of Iran's deterrent. And Israel is making sure the entire world knows the no-fly zone now extends all the way to Tehran. Now you might be asking, why would Israel spend $8.6 billion on manned aircraft when drones are dominating the headlines in Ukraine? Why invest in expensive stealth jets when Iran has thousands of cheap suicide drones? Why double down on the F-15IA, a platform that first flew decades ago? Because Israel isn't fighting to stop a few border skirmishes. Israel is fighting to ensure the total destruction of Iran's nuclear infrastructure. When you look at the F-35 and F-15IA pairing and understand the expanded context, the F-35 is the eyes that slip through radar, but the F-15IA is the sledgehammer. Israel lost its sense of absolute security on October 7th, and the military leadership immediately pivoted, declaring that the era of containment is over. So when Defense Minister Gallant says these jets ensure Israel's long arm reaches every corner of the Middle East, that tells you everything. The new power center in Jerusalem is running the show. The old mechanism of relying on U.S. diplomatic red lines is dead. And Israel has decided this is their 6-day war moment, a preemptive technological strike to ensure survival for the next half-century. Now here's the part no one in Washington, D.C. wants to talk about. The Biden-Trump transition-era officials told the press that the Integrated Air and Missile Defense Network would protect the region with existing assets as recently as 6 months ago. But according to the Pentagon's own internal assessment, the current U.S. presence in the Gulf is designed for deterrence through presence, not victory through engagement. That's a 14-month gap between the current capability of the U.S. Navy to protect shipping and the actual arrival of these Israeli jets in 2028. And already, here's what's happened. 1. The Wall Street Journal reports that Iran has successfully tested a new hypersonic Fatah missile that current Aegis systems struggle to track. 2. The IRGC has increased its gray zone harassment of tankers in the Strait of Hormuz, knowing the U.S. is hesitant to escalate. 3. Reuters confirms that Hezbollah has received upgraded Russian-made air defense systems from Syrian stockpiles. 4. The New York Times has leaked a memo suggesting the U.S. Air Force is critically low on the exact munitions Israel needs for its new jets. The Washington Post is now reporting that senior administration officials are concerned the deal will provoke the very war it was meant to prevent. They're failing in too many places, too fast, and too unpredictably, and the Pentagon simply can't protect every shipping lane while simultaneously arming Israel for a deep strike mission. This was supposed to be a stabilizing regional procurement. That's the exact phrase a State Department spokesperson used with the White House press corps. But Iran and its proxies turned it into a justification for a massive missile buildup. Let's zoom out, because this stopped being a local deal about 24 hours ago. Saudi Arabia has officially moved its own F-15SA units toward the northern border after the IRGC announced retaliatory military exercises. The Saudi 12th Wing is already positioned for what they call defensive readiness. Russia is moving Su-35 Flanker E fighters toward its bases in Syria. And Sergei Lavrov just said that any Israeli use of U.S. jets in Syrian airspace would be met with unspecified technical military consequences. That's 4 major nuclear or near-nuclear nations now actively positioning assets around this $8.6 billion deal. 4. And Iran just disrupted GPS signals across the eastern Mediterranean, affecting civilian aviation in Cyprus and Jordan. Over 1,200 commercial flights were canceled or rerouted across the Levant last week alone. Maersk and MSC have suspended operations in several regional ports until June 1st. The Gulf Cooperation Council is scrambling to figure out the oil transit problem now that both the Strait of Hormuz and the Bab el-Mandeb are under high alert status. Brent crude just touched $126 and is climbing. Natural gas futures in Europe spiked to a 12% increase this morning. The Iranian rial jumped to an all-time low against the dollar, a sign that capital is fleeing Tehran in anticipation of the Adir jets arriving. So where does this end? The Pentagon thinks they are buying peace by arming Israel to the teeth. They believe that if Israel can crush Iran from the air, the Ayatollah will back down. But history tells a different story. When you hand a nation 100 stealth fighters and the bombs to use them, you aren't just sending a message. You're providing the means for a total regional reset. The U.S.-Israel alliance is now locked and loaded, but the cost of that readiness is a world on the brink of $150 oil and a 3-front war. The $8.6 billion isn't just the price of the jets. It's the down payment on the most dangerous decade in Middle Eastern history. What do you think? Is this deal the deterrent we need, or did we just hand Israel the keys to World War III? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one of them. Don't forget to like this video if you value this kind of deep dive analysis. It helps the algorithm show this to more people who need to see it.